The arrival. The sky above Earth was calm. Blue clouds floated softly. Birds flew in silence. But something unusual was coming. Far above, in the orbit of Earth, a silver ship appeared, smooth, glowing, silent. It did not make a sound, but many. Satellites stopped working. The ship did not attack. It just arrived. Inside the ship was Ambassador Threx, a high diplomat from the peaceful race called the Virelians. Their skin was like glass, shining with soft blue light. Their world had no war for 12,000 years. They solved everything with peace, logic, and calm. Threx had come to Earth with a simple mission: make peace with the humans. The Galactic Council had heard about Earth, a small blue planet with a strange, fast-growing species. At first, the Aziar Council laughed. Humans, just apes with machines. But Earth had become powerful too quickly, too clever, too unpredictable. So Threx was sent. Alone. The ship landed outside New York City in a green, open field. Governments were already watching. Drones flew above, cameras zoomed in. The world held its breath. Then the ramp opened. Threx stepped out, tall, calm, glowing. His voice echoed gently from the translator on his chest. People of Earth, I come in peace. I bring friendship. Humans watched from screens around the world. Children clapped. Some soldiers tightened their grip on weapons, just in case. Minutes later, a team of human leaders arrived. They were smiling. Their suits were sharp. They brought gifts: a globe, some books, and a mug that said, "World's best alien." Threx was confused but smiled politely. Humans were strange, but friendly. They drove Threx to a tall glass building in Washington, D.C. Inside, they showed him videos of Earth, mountains, oceans, music, sports. Everyone smiled, everyone laughed, but something felt off. Threx could not understand why almost every painting on the wall showed war. Old wars, new wars, soldiers with flags, tanks. Even a child's drawing showed fire, guns, and people cheering. "Why would a child draw this?" Threx asked, pointing at the picture. One man laughed. "Oh, that's from little Tommy. He loves tanks." "Loves? Tanks?" Threx thought, disturbed. Later, they took him to a museum. The building was clean, white, and full of light. But inside, every room had one thing: weapons, from sharp knives to nuclear bombs. Every invention of death, proudly displayed like trophies. A human guide smiled and said, "This is the evolution of our military power." Impressive, right? Threx stared at a missile taller than a house. His glowing skin flickered dim for the first time. "What happened to the idea of peace?" he asked softly. "Oh, we like peace too," the guide said, "but only after we win." That night in his private room, Threx sat in silence. He replayed everything: the smiles, the gifts, the laughter, the drawings, the weapons. He turned on a small screen and watched Earth's entertainment. First movie, a space war. Second movie, humans fighting aliens. Third, zombies, explosions, more guns. "Even their dreams are full of war," Threx whispered. He opened a file about human history. He scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. Every century had blood. Every country had conflict. From swords to drones. From bows to bombs. One species. Thousands of wars. And yet, they smiled through it all. "How do they survive themselves?" Threx asked aloud. He began to record a report to the Galactic Council. Initial contact successful. No signs of open hostility. However, I must report something strange. The humans show deep affection toward violence. It is part of them. They do not worship peace. They worship victory, glory, battle. He huzzed. "They are friendly, but behind every smile, I see fire." Suddenly, a knock at the door. A small boy peeked in. "Hi, Mr. Alien," he said, holding a toy soldier. "Want to play war?" Threx blinked. "Play what?" "War." The boy laughed. "I'll be the tank and you can be the bad guy." Threx forced a smile. "Another time, young warrior." The boy ran off, making explosion sounds with his mouth. Threx sat back. His hands trembled slightly. "Their children play war," he said in disbelief. "Their babies march before they walk." He looked out the window. The stars were still out there. His home planet was far away. And for the first time, in 400 years of diplomacy, Ambassador Threx felt fear. He pressed send on the report, and with a quiet voice, he whispered the beginning of a warning. "We came for peace, but I fear we have found the gods of war." History of Monsters. Ambassador Threx sat alone in his diplomatic suite, orbiting Earth inside his sleek, silent ship. The stars outside seemed darker now. Something was wrong with this planet. It wasn't just the war toys or the smiles hiding sharp teeth. It was something deeper, something ancient. He couldn't sleep, not that Varelians ever did. But tonight, his mind refused to rest. "Computer," he said quietly, "give me full historical data on the human species. All available. Records." The ship's AI paused, almost hesitating. Then thousands of files opened at once, words, images, sounds. The walls of the ship glowed with moving history. War drums, screaming crowds, dusty fields soaked in blood. The first image froze Threx in place. A man holding a bone. Another man on the ground. Blood. Stone Age. Their first tool was a weapon. Threx whispered. He walked slowly past the glowing wall of history. Ancient wars, thousands of years old. Civilizations rising, only to fall in fire. Empires that built libraries and burned cities. Even the great human minds, the philosophers, the inventors, the poets, were surrounded by soldiers. Every age had its warriors. Every peace was just a pause. "Peace is not their natural state," he murmured. "It's just rest between battles." The next scene froze him again. The World Wars. Explosions filled the air, metal birds rained fire, and entire cities vanished under mushroom clouds. He watched footage of a human leader standing beside a nuclear bomb. "This weapon can destroy all life," the man said, "so no one will dare attack." Threx stared in horror. They created death to keep peace. They invented extinction for safety. And it worked. Somehow it worked. The humans survived. Their own apocalypse, but they didn't stop. The screen jumped to modern conflicts. Drones flying without pilots, soldiers with armor like machines. Wars fought not in years, but in minutes. Cyber attacks, silent strikes, invisible weapons. The Varelians had once feared a race called the Korgal, giant lizards with claws that cut steel. But the Korgal were slow, predictable. Even they had rules. Humans had no rules, no limits, no fear, and worst of all, no pattern. They killed with sticks, with gas, with machines, with words, with silence. "You can't fight what you don't understand," Threx said, "and I do not understand these creatures." He opened one final file labeled Cultural Representation of War, and here, the real horror began. The humans made games about war. They made movies where they won every battle. Children dressed as soldiers for fun. Teens played war simulations for hours. Adults watched war shows to relax after work. They didn't just survive violence. They celebrated it. He saw a movie where one man defeated an entire army. The crowd cheered. He saw a game where the goal was to shoot first and ask questions never. He saw stories, thousands of them, where humans fought aliens, and won. They've imagined us already, Threx realized. They've dreamed of meeting aliens, and they've already planned how to destroy us. He turned off the files. The ship became quiet. Too quiet. But inside him everything was loud. "I must return to the Galactic Council," he said, panic now rising in his voice. "They must see this. The other races must know." But just then, a soft alert chimed. Incoming. Message. From Earth. It was a short video. A message from the human government. "Ambassador Threx," said the smiling human general. "We'd like to invite you to a friendly demonstration tomorrow. A small show of our training exercises. Just to build trust." Friendly. Trust. Threx stared at the screen. He had just watched centuries of killing, and they were still smiling. He didn't respond. He couldn't. Instead, he activated his personal log, a private message to his own people. "Begin recording. Private log. Urgent. To the Varelian High Council, I am no longer confident in our diplomatic mission. This species is not like us. They do not fear death. They do not avoid conflict. They become it." He took a deep breath. His voice shook, not from weakness, but from something new. "I believe we have made contact with a species whose soul is forged in war. They laugh at destruction. They grow stronger from pain. They win because they refuse to accept any other outcome. If war is a game to them, we are all just pieces." He paused, looked out the window again. Earth rotated peacefully, below, glowing blue and green. Beautiful, deceptive, deadly. They are not monsters. Monsters are simple, predictable. These are something worse. He closed the log and looked down one final time. "They are not preparing for war," he whispered. "They are always at war. With each other, with the stars, even with the universe itself." Suddenly he remembered the boy with the toy tank. "Want to play war?" It wasn't a game. It was training, and every child was a future soldier. Threx turned off the lights in the ship. He didn't want to see Earth anymore. He didn't want to dream about it, and he definitely didn't want to be awake when they stopped, smiling. The simulation incident. The desert was quiet. Still. The kind of stillness that comes right before something terrible happens. The Varelian envoy stood in the middle of a massive training ground on Earth, surrounded by sand, sensors, and smiling soldiers. Giant cameras floated in the air, recording everything. Several other alien diplomats had joined to observe. They were curious. Some were excited. Others, like Ambassador Threkan, were sweating, metaphorically. Varelians don't have sweat glands, but his glow was flickering like a dying star. "This is just a simulation," said General Hawkins, the human in charge. "No live ammo, no real casualties, just a little fun." He smiled again. Why did humans always smile before chaos? Threx nodded slowly, trying to match the smile, but it came off more like a pained grimace. Across the field stood two teams. Team A, elite Varelian peace operatives, trained in non-lethal defense, energy shields, and pacification strategies. Team B, 4 human soldiers, drinking coffee and cracking jokes. It didn't look fair. It wasn't meant to. Threx stood with other aliens on a raised viewing platform, protected by an energy field. He watched as the countdown began. Begin. Simulation in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Smoke exploded on the field instantly. Not from weapons, from the humans' boots. One of them had kicked a pressure plate and turned it into a cloud trap. Another dived into cover so smoothly it looked like water moving. The Varelians, graceful and tall, moved into defensive positions. They activated their glowing shields, scanning the area with calm strategy. That calm lasted exactly 11.7 seconds. A flashbang flew through the air. It wasn't real, but the effect was coded in. Light, sound, simulated pressure. One of the Varelians collapsed, holding his ears, his body vibrating with confusion. Before Threx could process what happened next, the humans were already behind the enemy line. How did they? An alien beside him gasped. The simulation's terrain hadn't changed, but the humans had memorized it. crawled under fake rocks, climbed fake cliffs. One soldier slid down a ridge, tagged 2 Varelians on the back, and whispered, "Boom." "They're not following the rules," shouted one angry alien ambassador. "Exactly," Threx muttered. The humans weren't fighting to win the simulation. They were fighting like it was real, like the whole galaxy was on fire, and only they could save it, or burn it down themselves. Another Varelian raised his hands to surrender. A human rolled by, tapped his helmet, and said, "You should have flanked left." He offered tactical feedback. In the middle of a war game, within 4 minutes, all Varelians were eliminated. The scoreboard flashed: humans, victory; casualties, 0. Time, 4:13, silence. Complete silence on the viewing deck. Even the other alien diplomats stared in shock. One of them whispered in their own language, a word that loosely translated to nightmare in daylight. General Hawkins walked up with that same ever-cheerful smile. "Not bad, huh? And that was just 4 of our mid-level guys. You should see the real teams." He handed out drinks. "Hydration is key," he said. Threx didn't take one. He stared down at the field, at the fake blood, the mock explosions, the soldiers joking and laughing as if they hadn't just psychologically dismantled a superior alien unit like kids breaking toys. He turned to his fellow ambassadors. Some were furious. "This was a trap," one shouted, "a show of power." "This was barbaric," cried another. "This was art," Threx said softly. They all looked at him. "What?" one snapped. "They didn't show us violence. They showed us discipline, control, timing, unity, adaptation. They don't just fight. They study war. They respect fit. They rehearse it." He turned back toward the field. "They don't love war because it's fun," he continued. "They love it because they survive through it, because they master it, because they know no one else does." A siren rang. Another simulation was being prepared. This time it would be humans versus humans. "Want to watch the next one?" General Hawkins asked. "No," Threx replied, backing away. "I have seen enough." That night, Threx recorded a secret message. "To the Varelian High Council, the humans invited us to a simple simulation. But what I saw was more than a game. It was a glimpse into their mindset. They are not unpredictable. They are brilliantly chaotic. They break rules not out of disrespect, but to win, and they will always find a way to win. They do not fear stronger enemies. They do not retreat when outnumbered. They do not rely on luck. They rely on each other, on strategy, on stubbornness, on the absolute refusal to die quietly. If the galaxy thinks it can control Earth, it is mistaken. If we think we can threaten them, so we are fools. I now believe humans are not just another species. They are the final evolution of war, and we have woken them." The file was locked, sent with highest clearance, marked urgent. Down on Earth, fireworks were being set off, a celebration. The peace games were over. Humans cheered. The aliens weren't so sure there'd be peace anymore. Fear in the Council. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was the most secure sacred chamber in the known universe. Carved into the side of a living asteroid the size of a moon, it was surrounded by quantum shields, solar flares, and paranoia. Only the most elite minds, rulers, and diplomats were allowed inside. Until today, the hall had never known fear. That changed when Ambassador Threx arrived early. His face was dull. The usual glowing blue hue of his skin was pale, flickering like a dying star. He didn't bring gifts. He didn't bring smiles. He brought one thing: a warning. "The humans are not what we thought," he said simply. Counselor Rallin of the Mathari laughed, a low, gurgling noise that sounded like oil boiling in water. "Every species says that when they lose a test match," Rallin snorted. "Come now, Threx. Your peace squad was humiliated, that is all." "They didn't lose," Threx replied. "They were dissected, methodically, silently. by 4 humans, drinking coffee. That shut the laughter. The lights dimmed. A holoscreen blinked to life above the council chamber. Threx had brought the full recording of the simulation, uncut, raw, and in 360-degree field of view. Watch and listen closely. The council sat in silence as they watched humans strike with perfect coordination, taking down Varelian peacekeepers like a tiger playing with rabbits. No kill shots, no chaos, just efficiency. By the end of the 4-minute video, a chill had crept into the room. A voice from the shadows, old and slow, finally spoke. Counselor Surak of the Altari, a species of ancient telepaths. They think like predators, but they fight like prey that learn to turn. The others turned toward him. Explain, snapped the Cordaxian warlord. Surak's voice echoed like wind in a cave. Prey creatures evolve to run, to hide, but sometimes prey turns, learns, changes. When the environment is harsh enough, when the universe is cruel enough, prey can become unstoppable. Not out of hunger, not for territory, but for survival. He paused. Humans are not born predators. They are trained survivors. There is no greater weapon. Threx stepped forward again. You think they are new? That they are infants in the galactic stage? They are not new. They are ancient. Not in age, but in experience. They've faced extinction more times than we can count. And every time, they learned, evolved, upgraded. He pressed a button. A new video began, human history, summarized in one brutal timeline. Disease, famine, civil wars, global wars, economic collapses, climate disasters, near nuclear extinction. Each time, humans fell. Each time, they stood back up. They don't fear death, Threx said. They expect it, and they continue anyway. The Mathari counselor finally spoke again, but there was no laughter in his voice now. So what do you suggest we do? Kill them before they spread? No, said Threx. You can't kill them. Then we isolate them, shouted another. Blockade Earth, quarantine it. Won't work, Threx said. He pulled up one final data point. Do you know how many ships Earth launched in the last 5 Earth years? A pause. 412. Manned, unmanned, probes, scouts, weapons platforms, cargo. They are already everywhere. Your planets just don't know it yet. Room began to buzz. Quiet voices, nervous glances. Then why warn us? Whispered the youngest counselor. Because, Threx said, eyes dimming, they aren't our enemy, yet. Right now they are still looking, still learning, still smiling. Another silence, then Threx spoke slowly, as if each word weighed 1,000 stars. But if you push them, if you corner them, if you attack them, they will show you what they become when the smiling stops. He paused the screen on a single image, a human soldier smiling in the middle of smoke and fire. This is not joy, it is resolve. One alien muttered, That's impossible. No species can maintain such control under pressure. Threx turned toward him. They don't control it, they live in it. They don't fear chaos, they are chaos. Trained, focused, and aimed like a weapon. After the meeting, the council dissolved into quiet panic. Some demanded immediate surveillance of Earth. Some called for offering humans a seat in the council, out of fear, not respect. Some whispered about a preemptive strike, but the wisest ones, the oldest, most dangerous species in the galaxy, said nothing at all. They had seen this before. Long ago. A few of them remembered a time when another species had risen this fast. They too were underestimated. They too smiled before striking. They were gone now, but the humans might be worse. In his quarters, Threx received a message, a human transmission. It wasn't official. It was a recording, likely meant for soldiers back on Earth. It had leaked. A human general was giving a speech. We are not the biggest, not the fastest, not the smartest, but we are the most stubborn. The universe has thrown everything at us. Fire, ice, plague, bombs, ourselves. We're still here. Let the galaxy come. We don't need peace, we don't need war. We only need one thing, a reason. And when we have one, he paused, smiled. We don't lose. Threx closed the message. His hands trembled again. They don't fight because they want to win, he whispered. They fight because they refuse to lose. And that was far more terrifying. What makes a human? Deep beneath the rings of a silent gas giant, the Biological Threat Research Division of the Galactic Council had received a simple order. Understand the humans. It sounded easy. Another species. Another set of bones and blood. Same old scans, same old reports. But 5 days into the study, Dr. Eilis, lead xenobiologist of the Voral Institute, sent this in her personal log. I've studied the venom of Kralkans, the acid breath of Velnoths, the living lava of Moltari, but nothing unsettles me like a human child's immune system. That was how it started. Day 1. The body. The lab team began with basic physical tests. Muscle density, higher than expected. Bone structure, thick, self-repairing. Heart, capable of erratic, intense changes, sometimes doubling in rate within seconds. Pain tolerance, inconsistent, and weirdly voluntary. One scientist reported that human test subjects laughed during pain reflex tests. They laughed when we shocked them, Dr. Eilis said in disbelief. We had to ask if something was wrong. No, said the human. That tickled. Can we go higher? They stopped the test early. Day 2, the immune system, they ran disease. Simulations. Introduced viruses that wiped out full galactic colonies in weeks. Results. Humans adapted. Some immune systems mutated in hours. Others developed counterbiology using only a fever and some orange juice. One subject got bored and started doing push-ups while recovering. I believe humans don't fight diseases, Dr. Eilis whispered. They dominate them. Their biology is not a shield. It is a war machine in slow motion. She paused. The recording. If viruses had a religion, it would fear the human immune system. Day 3. The brain. This is where things got worse. Human brains lit up like fireworks during stress simulations. Most species shut down when overwhelmed. Humans? Their brain ramped up. New neural pathways formed in real time. Some even created temporary personalities to handle emotional overload, a thing the scientists labeled in fear, emergency identity mode. One human entered a simulation where their entire crew had died. Response. Took command in under 10 seconds. Created and followed a rescue protocol. Mourned after success was secured. When asked how he stayed so calm, the human said, "Didn't have time to fall apart. I'll cry later." The council's top neuroanalyst later said, "They can delay grief like it's a file on a computer." Another whisper across the room. That's not evolution. That's programming. Day 4. Emotion. The lab expected this to be humanity's weakness. Instead, it became their biggest question mark. Humans experience strong emotion, grief, love, rage, joy, but instead of collapsing from it, they harness it. One soldier recalled his dead brother in battle and fought harder. One mother used her fear to carry her wounded child 3 miles on a shattered leg. One teenager said he channeled the anger to survive a mine collapse. No species unknown. History weaponized emotion like this. Dr. Eilis made a terrifying conclusion. They are not strong despite their emotions. They are strong because of them. Emotion doesn't weaken them. It ignites them. She paused again. We don't know if they're unstable or unstoppable. Day 5. The mindset. This was the final study. The team ran morality simulations. Most species would avoid sacrificing a few to save many. Others followed logic, others froze entirely. Humans made hard choices instantly. Save 10 by sacrificing 2? Done. Give up their own life to protect strangers? Done. Bluff an enemy into surrender by risking self-destruction? Done. And with a one-liner. Why? One alien researcher asked. Why would you risk your life for someone you don't even know? The human paused. Because someone once did that for me. Another scientist asked a soldier, why do you run toward danger? Because if I don't, who will? Dr. Eilis wrote, they carry pain like fuel. Their empathy is not weakness. It is their bond. And they are bonded tighter than any hive mind we've seen. They don't run from fire, they run into it together. At the end of the study, the team sat in silence, not because they were confused, but because they understood. Too much. They held a private meeting. One scientist asked the question none of them wanted to answer. If we ever went to war with them, do we have a chance? No one spoke, until Dr. Eilis finally answered. Not if they believe they're right. Threx's message to the Council. It is not their weapons. It is not their ships. It is not even their warriors. It is their spirit. The reason humans terrify us is not because they destroy. It is because they refuse to be destroyed. You can crush their bones, but they will crawl. You can shatter their fleets, but they will swim. You can silence their voices, but they will write in blood. You will win every battle until you face the one human who simply refuses to die. In the deepest room of the Varelian Science Council, Dr. Eilis closed the final file and whispered to herself, we thought the war gods would be cruel, loud, savage, but they're not. They're quiet. They laugh. They cry. And when they finally stop, she looked out the window at the stars. The universe will change. The decision. The council chamber was no longer sacred. It was chaos, shouting, screaming, holograms glitching, security drones, on edge. A dozen alien species, each ancient and wise, now looked like children arguing over which fuse to pull on a bomb. And that bomb was Earth. Ambassador Threx stood silently as factions formed before his eyes. One group screamed for containment. Another cried for diplomacy. A third whispered darkly about a preemptive sterilization. We let them grow too. Long, spat the Cordaxian general. They are out of control. They must be wiped out before they become gods. Too late, replied a Mathari observer. They already are. No one laughed. The vote. The room was filled with 3 choices. Offer Earth a council seat, invite them into the galactic fold, treat them as equals, or superiors. Quarantine Earth, lock them behind a wall of fleets, keep them from spreading. Further, eliminate Earth, with overwhelming force. One strike, no warning. Each option was terrifying for a different reason. Threx spoke slowly as the vote began. Make your decision, but understand something. The humans already know we're debating this. Eyes turned. They've been watching us, listening, analyzing every word. Their intelligence networks pierced our networks 2 days ago. Silence. They are not responding because they are waiting. Waiting to see if we are wise. Or suicidal. Earth responds. Just as the votes were being cast, a message appeared. A live transmission. It came from Earth. The face that appeared wasn't military, wasn't political. It was casual. A human woman in a hoodie sitting on a rooftop under the stars, sipping coffee. Hey there, Galactic Council. We figured you were talking about us. She smiled. Not in arrogance, but in quiet confidence. No hard feelings, you're scared, we get it. You've never met anyone like us. She looked into the camera. Her eyes were tired, not threatening. Tired like someone who's seen too much, lost too much, and kept going anyway. We're not here to conquer anyone. That's not our thing. We don't want your planets, your politics, or your problems. But if you attack us and understand this, we will survive. And we will come back, not out of revenge, not out of anger, but because that's what we do. She leaned forward. So, ask yourself not what we are, but what you'll be after we're done. And the message ended. No threats, no weapons, just a cup of coffee, and the most terrifying calm the galaxy had ever seen. The fracture. The council shattered, literally. 3 factions walked out. The Altari left without a word, packed their fleets and disappeared into deep space. The Kordaxians roared and launched a single warship toward Earth. Just one. Just to test their defenses. And the Mathari. They stayed. And voted to offer Earth a seat. Not because they wanted to. Because they feared not doing it. The Kordaxian mistake. Everyone remembers what happened next. The Kordaxian dreadnought, 30 kilometers long, coated in black matter armor, capable of destroying moons, arrived near Earth 3 hours later. It never made it to orbit. No missiles were fired from Earth, no fleets were launched, no AI defense grid activated. Instead, the ship tore itself apart. Internal detonations, hull breaches, system meltdowns, all perfectly timed. When investigators reviewed the black box, they found one last log from the captain. We lost control. All systems turned against us. We were hacked from inside. One line of Earth code was found inside their ship's data core. You brought a warship to a software fight. The council went very quiet. Threx's final report. The humans are not waiting for our decision. They already made theirs. They will not bow, they will not beg, and they will not run. They are not afraid of death because they've already met it repeatedly, and somehow, every time, they come back stronger. They are not asking for peace, they are offering it. And if we are wise, we will accept. The council's decision, it took another full cycle, but finally the vote was made public. Earth would be invited to the Galactic Council, not as a junior member, as a primary power. Their ambassador would hold veto power. They would sit at the top, equal to the oldest species in the stars. Some screamed betrayal, others, relief. But all agreed on one thing. It was better than the alternative. The human response. They sent a representative. Not a general, not a president. Just a man in a leather jacket, eating a sandwich, sitting down in the council chair. He looked around at the terrified ancient species and said, "Relax, we're not here to take over. We just want a seat at the table, so we don't have to flip it." He smiled. Some laughed, some didn't. Back on Earth, a group of children watched the announcement on TV. One asked, "Are we the bad guys?" The teacher replied, "No, we're the ones they call when the bad guys show up." The final warning. The stars were quiet again, galaxies spun, oblivious, planets orbited peacefully. But deep beneath the surface of this calm was a new kind of silence, the kind that comes after a scream. Because the scream was called Earth. And now, everyone was listening. The broadcast. The transmission came without warning. It hijacked every frequency across the Milky Way. Civilian, military, encrypted. Nothing was spared. It wasn't loud. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't even threatening. It was just a message, a simple one. From Ambassador Threx, now older, now wiser, and now no longer afraid. He appeared on every screen in the galaxy, calm, serious, his skin no longer glowing, but marked with the digital tattoos of someone who had seen too much. To all species, to all worlds, to those who are young and those who are old, hear this. We found them. We found the species that legends warned about, the ones our ancestors feared, long before they could write their fear down. He paused, not for drama, for breath, for gravity. They call themselves humans. The testimony Threx's voice was not emotional. It was factual, But the facts were terrifying. They are small, soft, biologically unstable, mentally unpredictable. Their planet is a death trap. Their culture is built on contradiction. Their past is soaked in blood. And yet, they survive. Every species rises from something, but the humans, they rose through everything. Fire, disease, ice, war, hunger, even themselves. Their history is not a timeline. It is a graveyard. And they are the only ones who walked out. Behind him, images flashed. Cities turned to ash. Soldiers carrying wounded strangers. Scientists working with bloodshot eyes. Children laughing in bomb shelters. A single astronaut staring at a planet that no longer existed. They have seen extinction and smiled. They have met their gods and buried them. The myth confirmed. There were old stories, whispered myths in alien temples, of a species that could not be tamed. Some said it was a prophecy. Others said it was a warning from a dead civilization long forgotten. But now, the galaxy knew. They are not legend, Threx said. They are legacy. He showed a final image, a single human injured holding up a flag in the middle of fire. No soldiers left. No hope. Just resolve. That is their power. Not strength, not intelligence, not speed. Refusal. They refuse to break. The mistake? He turned now to the camera. His voice dropped lower. To those who think of Earth as primitive, you're too late. To those who consider striking first, you won't get a second. To those who believe you understand them, you don't. I don't. No one does. Not even they do. That's what makes them impossible. He paused. Then said the words that would become part of every galactic military training manual for centuries. Do not attack Earth. Do not provoke them. Do not threaten them. Do not confuse kindness for weakness. Because they are always ready. And when they stand, the galaxy will sit down. The Council's new seal. After Threx's broadcast, the Galactic Council updated its Universal Defense Charter. One single line carved into crystal, embedded into every colony's education program. Humans don't conquer planets. They survive them. Final scene. Years later, a small colony ship crashes on an unknown world. A terraforming mission gone wrong. No weapons, no escape pods, just a dozen human survivors. The planet is hostile. Weather shifts every hour. Predators stalk at night. Acid rain. Quakes. Day 1, 2 humans die. Day 3, they build shelter from a crashed wing. Day 5, they capture a creature. Cook it. Name it Steve. Day 9, they send a distress signal. Encrypted, coded, boosted. Day 12, they're laughing around a fire made from alien fungus. When help arrives 3 weeks later, the rescue team finds something shocking. The humans didn't just survive, they built a farm. They made a school, they wrote a national anthem. You were stranded, the alien captain said. How did you? We're human, the colonist shrugged. This is Tuesday for us. One last message in a quiet museum on Earth. A plaque hangs above an old, cracked helmet, once worn by a soldier who survived alone against an entire invasion force. The plaque reads, When the universe asked who we were, we answered. We are not the strongest, not the fastest, not the smartest. We are the storm that learned to walk. We are humans and we're still here.